If you tried to create a complex application with AI and it didn't work, you've been doing it wrong the whole time. The internet is full of hundreds of videos of people claiming it was easy to build software with AI. But the truth is, creating an application is hard. But creating an application with zero coding skills is almost impossible if you don't do these 4 things. Researching and validating your idea, understanding the bigger picture, cutting out the fluff, planning the stuff, aka creating the project requirements doc. In this video, I will walk you through my process that I use to create software with AI, so you can steal my workflow, don't have to make the same mistakes I did, and don't waste countless hours in an endless error loop. This video will also be the first video of a series where I'll build an application step by step to show you the whole process from scratch. So a few days ago, I had this idea for an app that I wanted to build, which is a Markdown editor. For those of you who don't know what Markdown is, it's a simple way to format text that's easy for humans to read and write. It uses plain text symbols to indicate how the text should look. To make the text bold, you surround it with double asterisks. For italics, use single asterisks. To create a heading, use hashtags. But I didn't just want to create a simple Markdown editor, I wanted to make it a complex app that I can put on the internet for other people to use. And to do that, you first have to know what people actually want, right? Which brings us to the first point on our to-do list, researching and validating your idea. So let's switch over to my laptop and I'm going to show you what I do. So as a first step, I like to use Perplexity because it has access to the internet and the data is likely to be up to date. Okay, of course, this is not 100% accuracy, but we'll get there. Just bear with me. Now, I want to open Perplexity and I've prepared a prompt. As you can see here, I have an idea for a web app, but I need your help to decide what features my MVP should have. I want to create a Markdown app with real-time collaboration, but I need a few more features so people would actually want to use it. Please help me come up with some ideas. Now make sure that the Pro toggle is on and you want to hit enter. And usually the first answer you get can be pretty general, so don't just take Perplexity's word for it, but refine your prompt in the next step. But for now, we'll just look at the different core features that it came up with. So creating a marketing app with real-time collaboration is an excellent idea. To make your app stand out and attract users, consider incorporating these features. So real-time collaboration, this is something that I've already defined in the prompt. Okay, so Markdown syntax highlighting, provide visual cues for Markdown formatting to enhance readability. So I'm planning to create something like a split screen view where the user has his document on the left side and the fully Markdown rendered document on the right side. A live preview, and this is also what Perplexity suggests. Another features are version control. So if a user works on his draft and he does multiple changes throughout his working process, he should always have the ability to come back to a earlier version. I don't know about this one. It's kind of like GitHub, right? Another feature would be a commenting system. Okay, implement a commenting feature that allows collaborators to discuss specific parts. That sounds interesting. Templates, custom styling. Okay, appearance of the rendered Markdown with themes or basic CSS options. This is also be a nice feature to have. Okay, so that the user could switch between dark and light mode, or maybe even change the colors of the highlights. Mobile responsiveness, sure. Search functionality. This is also a nice feature where you have a search bar at the top and you can search through your folders and files. Because at some point, if you have like, I don't know, 50, 60, 100, 150 different files, you don't necessarily know what content is in which file, okay? So this is a rather complex feature and I've built a similarity search function in one of my other videos where I built an AI-powered PDF chat application. So I will link this somewhere in this video so you can watch it if you want. So I have a little bit of experience with this one. Keyboard shortcuts, also interesting. Now, as I've said, the first answer is pretty general. So you don't just take Perplexity's word, you want to refine the search a bit. So this is why I prepared a second prompt. Are those really features that users would love in such an app? Please do more research and come up with real features, or rather real concerns or wishes of potential users. Add links for each feature so I can check your results. Search in places like Reddit or other forums where people talk about their problems. Now we'll send, and this second result is often vastly different from the first one, right? So let's see. I apologize for the previous response. You're right. And now we should have some more advanced and sophisticated results. So real-time collaboration is still a thing. Version control in history, advanced Markdown support is also a thing for LaTeX, support for mathematical equations, task lists, checkboxes, footnotes, and citations. cross-platform synchronization, the ability to access and edit documents across different devices is crucial. This sounds like a pretty interesting feature, but it's also somewhat complex to build it. Then customization and extensibility. Okay, we have the CSS and all the other good stuff, export and integration options. So this is one feature that we didn't have in the first response, I guess. Yeah, okay. But you can imagine that this is also a very crucial feature, right? Because users don't just want to create a document inside of this Markdown editor. They want to further process this and do stuff with it. Or they want to import it to Microsoft Office or Google Docs, or they want to print it as a PDF or whatever. So this is definitely an interesting feature, and I will implement that in my application. And of course, you can further enhance the prompt and ask it even more question, but just for the sake of this video, we'll leave it at that. Now, what you want to do next is you want to create a new Google Doc, and you want to mark down app plan, copy paste the core features, and step by step build your project requirements doc that we will finish in the fourth step, if you remember. Now, back over to Perplexity, and I think I will take all of those with the sources and all that stuff. Why not? Let's just copy paste it, and we'll paste it here. And of course, you can check the links to see if the websites are still online. I mean, although Perplexity uses the internet to create the search results, it still makes mistakes, right? AI is just a tool. You still have to check its work and see if the results are a good fit for your purpose. The next step you should do is do a manual research. Okay, I will exclude this in this video because there's only one thing that's even more boring than Googling stuff, and that is watching someone who's Googling stuff. Okay, so I will spare you that. And gather all the features you want your MVP to have. Usually 3 to 5 is a good starting point. Okay, the real fun begins, because if you're anything like me and you can't code for shit, where do you start really? So this is where I want to try to understand the bigger picture, which is also the second step on our to-do list, right? And for that, I like to spin up Claude. We want to give Claude the following prompt. Let me quickly copy it. So you're a seasoned project manager and senior dev. You write in-depth and comprehensive product requirements docs you can give to developers, and they know exactly what they need to do because they can find all necessary information in the document. Features, libraries, data flow, technologies. Feel free to add other categories you deem important. I want you to help me create such a document. Ask me all the questions you need about my project, product, so you can do your job properly. And usually you get around 10 to 12 questions from Claude. And sometimes Claude even asks questions you haven't thought of in the first place, right? Now, what you want to do is read through all the questions, try to understand everything. Usually those are very general questions. There's not a lot of technical stuff in it, so it shouldn't be that difficult to understand what you have to do. And then you want to go through each and every question and answer it to the best of your ability, okay? Because the better the input, the better the output will be. And you can save yourself a lot of time if you do the work properly in the beginning, instead of giving one sentence answers and then you have to do a little bit of refinement later down the line. Okay, so take your time for this step and work through it. So I will just quickly fill these things out, and then I will speed up the video so you don't have to watch me typing. So another good feature if I think about the cross-platform synchronization would be to definitely link it to GitHub, right? Because on GitHub, usually this is a platform where people upload their projects, not only to showcase their skills, but almost every company uploads their project there to maintain it, basically. And every coding project should have a MD file, a markdown file, which is a README file. And in this README file, you can learn how the project works, how to install it, what kind of features it has. And it would be kind of nice if we could create something like a vault inside of our Markdown app, where we can access the GitHub documents. And when we change them, they would also be changed on GitHub. So I don't know if that's possible. It sounds like a nice feature. So this is why I will add it to this prompt. And obviously there are some things that you don't really need, right? So we don't need a timeline and milestones because we're the only ones that are working on the project. We don't have a budget, or we don't need one. We don't have stakeholders and communication, all that stuff. And obviously the answers don't really map to all of the different points, but that's not a big deal. At the end of the day, those words are just numbers for Claude, okay? It will find the necessary information that it needs. After you've answered a bunch of questions, you will get a first draft of a project. It's called project requirements doc, not product, of the PRD. And usually what you want to do is you want to scroll through it, skim through it, try to understand most of the things. So in my case, I provided it with the information that I want to use Clerk for authentication, which is a lightweight library to implement, well, user authentication, because to anyone who has never built authentication, that shit is fucking hard, okay? That alone would take like 6 months to learn properly. So we'll just use the code other people already created and, well, to save ourselves some work. As I've said, you want to skim through it and you want to see if there are any parts that you don't understand, okay? So for that, you want to create a new Google Doc and you want to copy paste all of the things that you don't understand, okay? So for example, right off the bat, here's something that I have no idea what it is, okay? So implement operational transformation or conflict-free replicated data type for real-time editing. So based on this bullet point, I know, okay, it has something to do with real-time collaboration, but I have absolutely no idea what exactly that is. I assume it is something like an algorithm that runs in the background, so more than one user can work on a document and they see the changes in real time, but you copy that and you want to paste it into a Google Doc, okay? And you want to do this for each and every single point that you don't understand. And this is crucial, guys. This is the most important part. It's also the most boring one. Because if you want to build an application, you have to know how to use all of the different technologies that are involved in building it, right? Now, researching this stuff would probably be a video in and of its own. Just know that you can use AI to do the research for you, okay? You simply open a new Claude window. In that example, you copy the point, you open another Claude window and you say, okay, I want to build a real-time collab markdown app. And I've stumbled across the term, please explain in simple language for someone who has no technical background. And then you want to hit enter and you want to see what it comes up with. And you want to do this process over and over again until you really understand what the hell is going on. So what you need to do until you have a conceptual understanding of the thing. You don't really need to know the technical side of it. This is what Cursor will do for us, but you have to understand the conceptual side. So you know, okay, this is the first step I need to do in order to implement this. This is the second step, the third step, and so on. Now back to our PRD. And by the way, if you want me to create a video about how I use AI to learn complex programming tasks quickly and efficiently, let me know in the comments so I can create a video about that. And you also want to write down all the things that you probably wouldn't have thought of in the beginning, right? So for example, as a non-programmer, I wouldn't have been able to think about the, for example, this stuff here, database schema. Okay, we need a users collection. What is a users collection? To somehow store user profiles and preferences. We also need a documents collection, collaborations collection. And again, you want to copy paste all of these points, put them into your questions document, and you, after you're finished with the process, you want to come back to these questions and research them until you know what they are about. Now, once you have the first draft of your PRD, you want to use another prompt, which I quickly paste here. So, okay, this is a good starting point. Now go one layer deeper. I want you to expand on the core features, be more precise about how I would go about implementing those, the steps, when and what I need to take into account, etc. Because if we look at the core features, so we have the detailed feature specification, and for the real-time collaboration, we want to implement the OTs and the CRDTs and so on. We want to provide a list of active collaborators and all this stuff, version control and history, stored document revisions, and so on. But sometimes this might not be enough. So this is why I like to use this prompt to let Claude, as I've said, go one layer deeper and be even more specific with the core features. And now, as you can see, it becomes more clear. Okay, so for example, for the real-time collaboration, we need these 6 implementation steps. We need to choose a real-time collaboration algorithm, so either OT or CRDT. Recommendations are y.js, a CRDT framework that works well with React and Next.js. So then we need to set up the WebSocket connection, develop the collaborative editor component, implement cursor and selection tracking, create a collaborator presence system, and develop the access control. And it will do this for all of the other features so that you know exactly what is the first step, what is the last step until you have the working feature. So this prompt will further simplify your result because implementing a certain feature often involves a lot of small steps, as I've said. And at this point, you probably want to copy and paste the different versions of your project requirements doc. Okay, so for example, this is our first version, and we want to use this, head over to our Markdown app plan, and just paste it here. Okay, and after you've done this, you want to, and you receive the second iteration of your project requirements doc, you want to copy paste those and basically replace the first iteration. Okay, so in our case, we have the key features and you want to paste them here, and you can delete and this. Okay, and now as you can see, we'll step by step improve your PRD during the process. Okay, first we only had a few basic key features. Now we have the implementation steps and all that comes with it. But now we have another problem because, I mean, still it's great that we now have the different steps that we need to take, but still we probably don't know what they mean, right? So this is why you want to use the next prompt. Okay, this looks good. I work with a coding LLM and I will give those tasks to it. Now the fewer files and features it has to work with and implement at once, the better. Can you generate a full breakdown of the PRD core features with a task split up as much as possible so that I can feed them to an LLM step by step? However, don't overdo it. As many as necessary, not as many as possible. You can assume a certain level of intelligence since these models were trained how to code properly. They just need a bit of guidance when it comes to up-to-date coding documentations and when to implement what without breaking other stuff. Please use the steps you have created so far and further refine them based on my prompt. Don't hallucinate steps or come up with completely new ones. I'm trying to build a coherent plan here. Okay, this is crucial. And also, guys, this is not an exact science, right? You have to do a little bit of back and forth so you get the result that you want. Okay, now this looks pretty good. Project and setup, basic Markdown editor. We want to set up the Next.js project. We want to integrate Clerk for user authentication, create the basic layout components, implement basic Markdown editor component, and so on. And as you can see, those are backend features, right? It's not about where to put the button on your website. Sure, you want to have a basic layout feature so you can actually test the backend functionality by clicking certain buttons on the front end, but you don't need a finished front end in this state of the development process. You want to create the backend and all the different data structure and data structures that you need, the models, and you want to implement this. And then you will start with a real-time collaboration. You want to integrate the YJS CRDT framework, set up the WebSocket. And those are basically the steps that you can just copy and paste to Cursor when you start working on the project. And I will show you how in the next videos. Now, there's one last thing that I would like to talk about, and this is the choice for the database. Okay, so as you can see here, Claude suggested MongoDB. And if I don't have any experience when it comes to creating databases or choosing the right database, I have no idea why this is the best provider, right? I mean, there are other options like Supabase, which is a Postgres SQL database, and this is another thing you definitely want to put on your questions document so you can research different database types. This is not in the scope of this video. To show you, I would ask another question, and this is, okay, you've chosen MongoDB as a database provider. Is there any specific reason, or would another database structure like PostgreSQL be a better choice? Please explain and tell me why MongoDB is the best choice for my project. A lot of times you have to know in advance what you want to build, okay? And this is why you want to ask very specific questions so you get good answers, okay? And as you can see here, you're right to question the database choice as its crucial decision for any project. Let's compare MongoDB with PostgreSQL and explain why MongoDB might be a better fit for your SyncMark project. MongoDB as a recommended choice, document-oriented structure. MongoDB's document model aligns well with the JSON structure and Markdown documents. And I mean, you can read through it. Okay, I will put the conversation, the Perplexity conversation, and also the Claude conversation in the video description down below. But this is basically it, guys, for the preparation. And I know this is the most boring part of the entire process, but it's also the most important one, okay? Because if you can reduce the likelihood of errors in the beginning as much as possible, you will have it so much easier during the development process, because you know exactly and in advance what you have to do each step in the process, right? So once you're done with your research process, there's one last thing that you need to do, which is kind of make sense of all of the information that you've gathered so far. And for that, you can also ask Claude, this sounds great. Can you please create a Next.js project structure, Next.js 14 project structure, so that I know what folders and files I need to implement all of the features we've talked about. Again, I've never built a project this size, so please explain thoroughly, and also give me the project structure to look at. And then explain the sequence of how I would go about and implement the different parts of my app. So front end, features, etc. And this is basically the last puzzle piece that you need, because if you've never built an application of that size, you want to know how you should set up the project, okay? Because this, again, is not an exact science. There are hundreds of thousands of different project structures, and usually it's a very subjective thing for each developer with what project he chooses. Of course, there are some standards, industry standards that you can follow for a different project, but usually there are a lot of different project structures. Okay, so this is why you want to ask Claude to set up the project structure for you that you can use to code your project. And you also want to see what steps you should take first. Okay, and as you can see, you first want to set up the project, and then the backend set up the MongoDB connection, implement the API routes, and so on. And once that's done, you can head over to the front end and actually implement the front end functionality. So that's it for this video, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video.